So here's yet another perspective on root 2. So last time we tried to do the Euclidean algorithm on root 2, and recall here's what we discovered. If you write root 2, so we started with root 2 and 1, we divided root 2 by 1, next we divided 1 by R1, and so on, right, and we discovered in general that Rn is actually R1 power n, okay, where R1 is. So this was the Euclidean algorithm, but now recall that there was yet another thing that we were able to deduce from the Euclidean algorithm, and this was a kind of a continued fraction expression. Okay, so let me remind you of how that worked in the case of 189 and 35. So we wrote 189 as 5 times 35 plus 14, and so this equation we rewrote as, you know, as a quotient. Look at 189 by 35, quotient 5, remainder 14, so I have to divide that by 35, and then we took the reciprocal of this, right. So we wrote this as 1 by 35 by 14, and 35 by 14 is really what comes up when you do the next step of the Euclidean algorithm. So 2 into 14 plus 7, so I will write this as 5 plus 1 by, so 35 by 14 is quotient 2 and remainder 7 by 14. And 7 by 14 is, again you take the reciprocal, it's, well, that's the third step if you wish, it's 2 into 7. So we rewrite this as 5 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. Okay, and this sort of expression is what we called a continued fraction. This is a finite continued fraction expression, and what is it a continued fraction expression of? The rational number 189 over 35. Okay. Now nothing prevents us from trying to copy this very same idea in the case of 1 and root 2. So let us do that. So what did we have? Very first step was square root 2 equals, so I will begin here, square root 2 by 1. Okay. So again it is quotient, which is 1 plus remainder over 1. Okay. Again I will, so the next step is take a reciprocal, it is 1 plus reciprocal of 1 by R1. Now 1 by R1 is what I get from the second step of my, so that is 1 plus 1 by, so when I divide 1 by R1 I get 2 plus R2 by R1. Okay. Now again R2 by R1 is, I have to take the reciprocal again, 1 plus 2 plus 1 by R1 by R2, and that is what you will get from the next step of the Euclidean algorithm, right. So let me just do it here. So if we do R1 by R2, I get 2 plus R3 by R2. Okay. So this is 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 plus R3 by R2, which I write again as 1 by the reciprocal R2 by R3, okay, and so on. So now you can start to see what's going on. So at every step I just write the Euclidean algorithm. The comparison with the 189 over 35, this situation is that this stopped at some point, okay, but in our case that is not going to happen. So you will keep having, you know, for example here I have R1 by R2, then I will get R2 by R3, then R3 by R4, and so on and so forth. But observe that in fact R1 by R2, which is what you get in the first step, is just R1 by R1 squared. So that is 1 by R1, right. Likewise what I get in the next step here is R2 by R3, and that is just going to be R1 square by R1 cube, that is 1 by R1. So at every step you get, you know, you get the same answer, it's again 1 by R1. So if you really just keep going on and on, this is sort of what we are saying, root 2 by 1 is, it feels like this word is, it's 1 by 1 plus 2 by, sorry, 2 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by and so on. And in a sense, if I just keep going on and on to infinity, it seems like that's really what I am doing when I am doing the Euclidean algorithm all the way forever. Okay, and this is what you would call an infinite continued fraction. So this is an infinite continued fraction. And how does one interpret this? What does it actually mean, right? To say that it's an infinite continued fraction, here's sort of what it means. You sort of truncate this at various steps. Okay. So remember, when I did the Euclidean algorithm, I said it's 1 by 1 plus 1 plus 1 by 2 plus whatever R1 by R2, and then next R2 by R3 and so on. Here we don't have those R1 by R2, R2 by R3 terms. We've just got a string of 2's. So what does it exactly mean? What does the right hand side mean? How do you interpret it? Here's the interpretation. You would just imagine truncating this to a rational number as follows. Okay, so I just draw these. I'm drawing these lines to say that we are going to truncate. Okay, so what does truncate mean? Let's form the following rational numbers. So here's the meaning of an infinite continued fraction. So we just form the following sequence of rational numbers. Okay, what is the sequence? First term is just 1 plus 1 by 2. Okay, this was the first truncation that I showed you in this picture, right? So the very first line that I drew here is 1 plus 1 by 2. That's what I get if I stop there. Now the next line, if I stop here now at the green line, it's 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. So that's going to be the second term of my sequence. So second term A2 is 1 plus 1 by 2 plus, I go one more step, 1 by 2. Okay, and so on. Okay, A3 is, I will do once more, 1 plus 1 by 2 plus. So that will be the next step, A3 and so on. Okay, so in general, A1 has just a single 2, A2 involves 2 2's, 3 2's and so on. So in general, if you see how the terms are being formed, it's as follows. So AN is really the following. Maybe it's easier to do the following. Let's add 1 to all the A's. Okay, so if you add 1 to all the A's, let's call the new sequence as Bn. Then Bn is a little bit more symmetric than the An's because it's got only 2's, there is no 1 in front. Okay, so Bn really, B1 is 2 plus 1 by 2, B2 is 2 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 and so on. Okay, so in general, what is the next Bn? Well, it's just 2 plus 1 by the previous Bn, right? In other words, the ANs that we are forming, so let's rewrite this back in terms of the ANs. It says that AN plus 1 is 2 plus 1 by AN minus 1 plus 1. Okay, so I can sort of take the 1 to the other side, I mean subtract a 1 from both and write the equation like this. So this is really the reconciliation. So n greater than or equal to 2, what we are doing is the next term of the sequence is 1 plus 1 over 1 plus the previous term of the sequence. Okay, now the claim, so this is what it means to truncate. So when I say form the following sequence by truncation, that's a word of the infinite continued fraction. Okay, and now when I say that I am claiming that root 2 over 1 is equal to this infinite continued fraction. Now what that means is that the sequence of truncations that I form, that sequence converges to root 2. So that is what I mean by this equal to sign here. Okay, so we have to give meaning to the right hand side first and give meaning to what the equal to sign means, because as written an infinite string of 2's in this form, it doesn't really mean anything. What does it mean for us, right? We have to make precise meaning out of this. Okay, and this is sort of the kind of thing that we often do in mathematics. So we sort of come up with an expression that to begin with doesn't seem to have a meaning per se, but it's produced using a perfectly meaningful procedure. In this case, we arrived at this string of 2's, this continued fraction, by just applying the Euclidean algorithm to 1 and root 2 rather than 2 integers. So it seems the procedure itself seemed meaningful. The final result that it gave us is slightly meaningless. We don't know what this infinite string of 2's is supposed to mean. So now we give it more rigorous meaning. So what we say is we truncate, construct rational numbers, right? These truncations are well defined rational numbers. So for example, it's just 3 by 2 and it's 1 plus 1 by 5 by 2, that's 2 by 5, so that's 7 by 5 and so on. So these themselves are nice rational numbers, and we have a nice rule for how the next number is formed from the previous one. The equal to sign there really means the following: the claim is that the limit of an as n goes to infinity is exactly root 2. So that's what I mean by writing that infinite, by saying that root 2 equals that infinite continued fraction. Okay, so let us prove this. Okay, and to do this we'll just use this equation here, which tells us how to get from an to n plus 1. So to prove this, let me define something called epsilon n. Okay, so what is epsilon n going to be? It is just an squared minus 2. Okay, I will define this for all n greater than or equal to 1. In a sense, I want to prove an converges to root 2. I would be done if I show that epsilon n goes to 0. So that's what I am going to try and do. So let's compute an squared minus 2. Okay, so an squared is, well, firstly what is an? So let us just write an out slightly more. So it is 1 plus 1 by 1 plus an minus 1. So I will just take an minus 1 plus 1 as a common factor. This is an minus 1 plus 2. Okay, so now I will use this expression. So what is an squared minus 2? It is just the square of this guy minus 2, and so now it's just a calculation. We just use the formula for a plus b the whole squared on top. So this just turns out to be an minus 1 squared 4an minus 1 plus 4 is 2 times plus 1 by the square of the denominator. And now I just have to cancel off whatever I can cancel off. So observe that 4an minus 1 cancels, and what I am left with is, well, it is just an minus 1 square minus 2 times an minus square. So it is minus of an minus 1 squared, and I am left with a 2. So minus 2 divided by an minus 1 plus 1 the whole square. Okay, so what is this? Well, so this just tells me when I computed an squared minus 2, I actually got the previous difference. I got an minus 1 squared minus 2. So let us just record this equation. So epsilon n, which was an squared minus 2, turned out to involve epsilon n minus 1 by plus 1 the whole squared, right. So that's just another way of writing what I got at the end. Okay, but now observe that the denominator, see, what do I know about the a's? So all the an's are greater than or equal to 1. So observe just from the formula for the an's, right, the an's are all of the form 1 plus something, right, where is it? So if you look at the formula itself, you can see all of them begin with a 1, it's 1 plus some positive quantity. See, all the a's are therefore at least 1. So which means that the denominators in this case, any anything of the form an minus 1, so this is true for all n. So the denominator is at least 2, denominator square is at least 4. So this tells us that epsilon n in absolute value is, what is it? There is modulus of epsilon n minus 1 by the square of the denominator, but that is just less than or equal to 1 by 4, right. So since it's a denominator, I have it's less than or equal to 4. Now I keep doing this, I can keep going by just using this last equation, this last inequality. Epsilon n is less than or equal to epsilon n minus 1 by 4, epsilon n minus 1 is less than or equal to epsilon n minus 2 by 4. So this is 4 into 4, that's 16, and so on, epsilon n minus 3 by 4 cubed, etc. So if I keep doing this, I finally get less than or equal to epsilon 1 by 4 to the n minus 1. So what does this mean? Therefore, as n goes to infinity, so modulus of epsilon n is, well, what is epsilon 1? I mean, just for fun, we sort of also know what epsilon 1 is in this case. Let's go back up. A1 is 1 plus half, right, and epsilon 1 was A1 squared minus 2, right. So it is 9 by 4 minus 2, that's exactly 1 by 4. Okay, so let's also put that in. So what does it mean? Therefore, epsilon n we conclude is less than or equal to epsilon 1 by 4 power n minus 1, but epsilon 1 is 1 by 4. So I finally conclude that modulus of epsilon n is less than or equal to 1 by 4 power n. Therefore, the limit is 0. So limit n goes to infinity of epsilon n has to be 0, right? Why? Because 1 by 4 power n goes to 0 as n goes to infinity. So here's again a little exercise problem. Prove this formally. Prove this statement. Okay. Now once you have done that, so for example, you can use the squeeze theorem to do this, but once you have done that, we are sort of done. So therefore, conclusion is that an squared converges to 2, or that an converges to root 2. So limit n tends to infinity, an squared is 2, and since the an's are all positive numbers, the limit is root 2. Okay. So that sort of concludes this other point of view on square root 2. Let's go back up. Finally, what is this new thing we have discovered about square root 2? You actually can write it as an infinite continued fraction, and by truncating that, I mean writing it as the infinite continued fraction just means you truncate it at various points, and the rational numbers that you obtain by truncation converge to square root 2. And I mean the way we discovered the continued fraction itself was by using Euclid's algorithm. Okay. But having discovered it, we actually gave a proper formal proof that the limit is root 2 by calculating epsilon, etc., etc. So here's a nice set of problems. I mean you can try and make many such problems of your own. Try to find a continued fraction for square root 3, and maybe also for all the other square roots. So let me say square root 7, find a continued fraction for square root 7. So I mean try and use the same sorts of ideas in terms of Euclid's algorithm or something like that.